not important. I won't be offended if my link isn't used.
Fair that. And it's time to go live, so go live.
Remember, I'm going to start with my rant.
And theoretically speaking, we should be live. So
That's
welcome
nice.
everyone. And John wanted to start with his rant, so the floor is yours.
Oh, that started a long time before you told me, mate. Because I heard me telling you about the link.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, something is echoing as well. There's that. Yep. That wasn't my fault.
No.
There you go. But hey, you wanted to start with your rant? So
Yeah, I know. Yes, about time zones and people's bloody laziness. We're going to be showing this at 4 o'clock. Okay, which of the world's 24 time zones is that 4 o'clock? My esteemed co-host, Younger Fart, did this to me tonight. He said, we'll start at 22:30. Not the stream, but the pre-stream. But this is 22:30. My time, he didn't specify.
It's a co-host's time.
And, okay, so here's the thing. As a courtesy, whenever I talk to somebody, I tell them in their time, not in my own. And then expect them to know which time I'm talking about. And there's lots of big YouTubers. Tim Pool does it. I'll be uploading again at 4. Okay, which of the many time zones in your continent is 4 o'clock?
that's your rant.
Yes.
But in all fairness, mate, I mean, 22:30 pre-stream, 23:30 we go live.
You didn't. You just said start at 22:30. You didn't mention pre-stream.
All right, then maybe I should have said pre-stream. But other than that,
No. Look, courteous. You translate your time to my time. That's courteous.
courteous between
Yes.
us.
Yes.
Nah.
Whenever I give you the time, I will give you the time, and I will say your time. I will say 23:30, your time.
Well, all right then. I'll try to think of it next time.
Ah, interesting, Richard, because this time the streaming is happening is at his end. On Wednesday, because I was hosting it, they complained that my volume was low, and the everyone else was fine. And now it's your volume is low and mine is fine, and
So-
it's probably because my audio comes in via Hangouts and yours from your microphone.
Yeah, so I'm
And-
wondering, Michael, is it better now? I mean,
I'm a bit too loud today.
yeah, but
I'm a bit loud
that's
every time.
that's
I'm
what I
always
would
too
say.
loud.
That's common.
I am common, yes, this is true.
But is it better now? Because I moved the microphone a bit, so that might boost my output.
I couldn't find out where the bloody controls for gain is on the microphone under Windows 10, which was really annoying.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing. I'm working with voice meter, so from that, it's not as hard to adjust.
No, the worst thing, well, no, actually, I tell a lie, because in OBS it did show my volume as being a little low in comparison.
Mm-hmm.
But as I say, OBS had it set to maximum, and although I tried to tweak Hangouts down a bit, everyone's still complaining.
Okay.
So I think you would think Michael Keller would have been happy given his attitude just right now.
Well, moving the mic did change enough, apparently, so that's good. And I have to admit, I'm using OBS now as well to record some of my videos. Well, some. I've only done it once, twice, but it seems to work fine. So
That's good.
yeah, still using a little bit of after editing, but yeah, no, it's yeah.
Well,
Hope-
one would presume so, unless you can do it perfectly. in one take.
Well, if I look at the last video I made, at the end of the video I made a joke.
Did you?
About, I think it was, yeah, no, it's not in the video, I took it out. It's an old cartoon. And in that cartoon there's a prisoner hanging in a prison cell, and then the guard comes to bring the food for the prisoners. But the prisoner is like, yeah, this is rubbish, I can't eat that. So the guard then says, okay, you know what? I'll bring it back to the chef, and I'll ask the chef. I'll ask the chef what's what. So the guard comes back, and he basically says to the prisoner, "I've got good news for you, mate. You don't have to eat this." Ah, okay. What will I get then? Hunger.
I thought you said he was hanging in the cell,
Yeah. It's
which
a
means he's
cartoon,
dead.
mate. No, he wasn't hanging from his neck. You can hang from
No,
your
that's what
arms.
hanging in a cell means. I thought you were making a reference to Epstein.
No.
It means hanging about.
Hanging
You
about.
missed the word about.
No, actually, no, it's not hanging about. He was actually hanging on his arms, you know, wrist on one side, wrist on the other side. I think it's an old cartoon of Hagar or Wizard of Id or something like that. But I couldn't find I couldn't find the cartoon, so I decided to remove the joke from the video because yeah.
Yeah, I was
Just because this is something. If I look at the latest video, and this is something we come back to in the rest of the stream, I'm sure of it. But if I look at the last video, it not a lot of people seem to have recognized that the most important thing that the whole video was about was entitlement. And people don't recognize their own entitlement.
Yeah, but you recognise others usually.
Well, it's easy enough, or at least usually.
Well, it was what I noticed. I didn't notice the Muslim thing. I didn't care about the Muslim thing. It was irrelevant. You were just entitled.
Yeah, that's the main issue.
But I thought that was blatantly obvious. It puzzles me how people could have missed that. You know, I mean, all the thing. I mean, both my comments were about the things she said about being entitled.
Yeah, true that.
Like, you don't like the free housing you get here? Then fuck off back to Eritrea
Yeah, but that's the worst
or
part.
Somalia
Oh, well,
or wherever it's going.
no, she actually mentioned Eritrea. It's in the article.
Oh, it was Eritrea. Sorry.
So, and I'm like,
Muslim.
seriously, you're going to compare Eritrea to any Western country?
No, but why come here? If your housing was so fine back in your home country, why are you here?
Yeah,
Seriously, why are you here?
it's but the entitlement. No, it's not good for me and my kids. And I'm like, listen, there are people who live in smaller places still,
Or on the street.
or indeed on the street. They don't have a choice. But yeah.
No. And that thing about, oh, my 3 kids are sharing a room. Just look back at the history books. It wasn't that long ago when families of 10 were sharing a room. And that was the norm for much of the population.
One moment, because Son wants to say something. 1 sec. This is not going to go the way I wanted, but let's see.
Oh, okay. I hear you guys talking, and I remember watching a whole documentary about Great Britain and people getting housing, immigrants, and there are people complaining, like, for example, there is a toilet in the hall, so you would have a hall, and you would go into the one room and the other, and then you would have a toilet, and the woman was like, is it even legal? It's dirty, it's not good, it's this and that. and it was like a little bit too many cases that I've seen it, that people were genuinely complaining about bullshit like that.
Anyway, so yeah, that people complain, but that's okay. They have the right to complain. But yeah,
They don't have the right to be on bloody television. That's what I object to, is the time given to her by an allegedly credible news outlet.
And Michael Keller, I'm sorry that she was echoing, but I can turn off my Hangout, but somehow my microphone isn't only tied to Hangout. So even when I turn it off in Hangout, it still seems to be working. And I haven't figured out how to do that one. So I didn't expect... Anyway, yeah. No, but it's the entitlement indeed. And it's almost as if, like, all right, I don't like this or this situation. Well, okay. Beggars and choosers, beggars and choosers. Which one are you? Well, I'm a chooser. Okay, then get out of what you're given and get something for yourself. Then you can choose. Yeah, but I have nothing else. But that's your choice.
Yeah. It's
Michael's got a long post incoming. No, but I mean, now when I was young and I was a student, I still lived at home. But I know a lot of my mates, they didn't live at home. They lived in a room, basically. They rented a room for a few hundred, or sometimes 100 guilders, or sometimes a few hundred guilders per month. And it was a room. It was smaller than my current bedroom. And that's what they were living in. And I'm like, and this is a woman complaining. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Hey, Renovatio.
This is part of the problem, isn't it? Because people find it so easy to complain, to demand, to request, and it's like, you know, people used to, you know, be a bit more self-reliant, shall we say?
Hmm.
Okay, it's all gone quiet.
Yeah, I'm still listening. I'm still waiting for the rest of Michael's story. Basically, he's telling us how he, as a PFC, was sleeping in a garrison, and I'm pretty sure he's going to go to where the garrison was set up to be opened up for refugees, but then...
Yeah, he's already got that bit on. They needed new housing for refugees and asylum seekers. The garrison he was sleeping in was on the table as primary housing. Both leftists and refugees said that it is impossible to temporarily house them there. It shall have been inhumane to normal people. Can you imagine how every soldier and Swiss
but that's the whole point. That's the whole point. I mean, I used to work when I was younger. I'm talking about more than 20 years ago. I used to work in a refugee shelter in the Netherlands, and it's a camp for about 300 something families or people, and they're all standing in small caravans. Well, I'm saying small. Listen, there are people going on holiday in caravans that are way smaller than that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that small. But okay, they're not big houses. I mean, but they're quite... I mean, they're...
Is it warm? Is it dry?
It's warm. It's dry. It has electricity. It has running water. It has a stove.
Then they can fuck off.
Yeah.
Is my... It's like, seriously.
People live in less. And they're complaining. And, I mean, the entitlement. Yeah, but it's inhumane. I'm sorry, mate, but...
I know why the leftists think it's so bad. It's because they're also bloody middle class. That you know, anything short of a mansion is slumming it.
Probably. Makes sense, actually. But even if, I mean... Let's assume that they're 100% correct, and it's terrible for them to live in. It's not supposed to be an end solution. It's a stopgap solution.
Yeah, but I mean, also, I mean, it's like if you're a refugee and you arrive somewhere and there's anything at all, you're grateful.
Mm-hmm.
The mere fact that they're ingrates proves that they aren't as needy as they're claiming.
Yeah, well, that is definitely true. That is definitely true. And it's somewhat scary that we in our Western society have gone so overboard to accept this. This is not about people coming from certain cultures. No, this is about our culture basically telling us that we need to give the shirt off our back to people who don't really need it but want it.
But that's the thing, it's not our culture, it's just certain elements in our culture.
Well,
and they're always giving other people's shirts off other people's backs.
True that. Hi there.
Yeah, exactly, laughing the member. Exactly. It's you know, and what was it, Germany, and they were giving clothing and they just threw it all in the bin because
No, that was in Spain.
enough.
Oh, for fuck's sake, that was beautiful. They were on board of a ship. I can't remember which it was. And Italy didn't allow them in for the longest time. There's a new ship with the same problem. And then eventually, I think they went to Lampedusa. No, not to Lampedusa. Yeah, somewhere on the edge of Spain.
Just somewhere
and
in
Italy.
Spain. I don't think they care
And they
where.
landed and they were giving survival packets with food and clothing. And a lot of those packets, they would just got dumped in dumpsters unopened. I mean, if you want to talk about entitlement. But hi there, Anxious Aussie.
Indeed. G'day, cobber.
Why Anxious Aussie though? What happened, Katrina? What happened? How come you're an Anxious Aussie?
She's an Aussie.
Yeah, but why is
Like
she
I'm an
anxious?
anxious Brit, and if you had any sense, you'd be an anxious Dutch person.
Why?
Because the world's going to shit.
Right, oh they. No, it wasn't Gibraltar either, Michael Keller. I can't remember the
No,
place.
it couldn't be Gibraltar, because that's not Spanish.
No, that's England. That's true. But the funny thing is, I mean, I'm going to show you guys this. I put a link with the text, but I'm going to show you guys this, so I have to look it up for a sec. Give me a sec.
A heap for the homeless. I'm curious what a heap for the homeless is. Sounds a bit like a bonfire.
Okay.
Is that just my
I'm
imagination?
going to. Now I have to do OBS, and then I have to say there.
No one can say any attack. Why can't anyone say any attack?
I don't know. I can say on attack. I thought.
Yeah.
I have no problem with an attack at all.
No.
Anyway, so I'm going to show you
I'm
a bunch.
stupid. I had to be told that it was her name backwards.
I'm going to say yes to both of those points.
Of course you will. I was setting you up specially for you.
But anyway, I mean, look, these are all container homes. This is a container home under construction, actually. I've actually been thinking about doing the same thing if it weren't for the fact that a plot of land in this country is so fucking expensive. But I mean, these are container homes. Now, they may look a little bit nicer on the outside, but on the inside, it's the same bloody atmosphere. It's the same size. I never had a problem with Unattack, though. I mean, look, this is a simple container home, right? And I've looked at the prices, seriously. I mean, you can buy one of these big containers. I mean, they are using 1, 2, 3 in a row. And, well, they're using 6. So you can buy one of these for about 3,000 euro.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 makes it like 18,000 euro, and you already have a 2-story house.
Yeah, but that's the funny thing, because if you think about America, they have all their trailer parks, don't they?
Yeah.
Which is essentially that
same
sort
thing.
of thing.
But
Yeah.
it's terrible that people live in trailer homes because they're not nearly as strong as these sea containers. Because these sea containers, they're pretty damn strong. I mean, one of those big containers should be able to withstand from within 27,000 kilograms. And you can stack them. So it can handle that weight from outside as well. I mean, this is a lot stronger than a stone mason house.
Mm.
You can make electricity and plumbing in it too, by the way, Michael Keller. Not a problem at all. I mean, look at this. Tell me how there's no electricity in this one.
What?
Why is that? I would fucking love it. Why is I would fucking love it hidden? Thank you for pushing the button faster
Because
than me.
obviously, a wife telling her husband about a sex act is haram in the new YouTube.
Oh, right, yeah.
Fuck's sake.
But yeah, no. If I could buy a small stretch of land, which I'm wishful and all that, and I mean, even if you buy a completely new shipping container, they're like 4,000 brand new, and second hand they're a little bit cheaper, sometimes even half of that. And you can make great things. I mean, look at that. It's a small home, but hey, it's 2 shipping containers, a big one and a small one.
Mm-hmm.
You can build more over time.
And you can add to it. You can, and they're
Yeah.
complaining about. I mean, it's now this is more the sort of housing she has, and you can say, well, it looks terrible. It's not as pleasing to the eye as the other ones. Yeah, but it's still
But
a
guess
house.
what? When you're on the inside, it doesn't matter what the fuck it looks like from the outside. I've
No,
always thought this.
yeah, but I 100% agree with you. The entitlement of saying, oh no, this is not good enough. This is for furniture and animals. Well, okay. There are people who actually live in it and are satisfied. So what does that
I
make
would
them?
say anyone who can complain isn't in need. And if they're not
True
in
that.
need, they can fuck off.
I mean, look at that. This looks like a church, for fuck's sake. Don't you think this looks like a church?
Yeah, it does.
A church?
Yeah. So
No.
this is a standing sea container.
Church?
Yeah.
It looks like a housing block. It does not look like a church.
It has a church feel to me. Okay, it might not be a church, but it has a church.
Oh, that one.
The one I'm showing, this one.
Sorry, I was looking at the one on the stream that looked like a...
Ah.
Because I can't see... You're not showing it in Hangouts again.
Oh right.
You
Oh,
did
I'm
this
sorry.
before. You did
I
this
know.
before.
I'll share stream screen with Hangouts. Share.
You did this
So
before.
yeah, I
You
know.
were talking and I was looking at
Something
the
else.
stream. No, the stream, which is 30 seconds behind. And so I wasn't looking at what you were talking about because you weren't showing what you were talking about.
But you can see it
Yeah,
now, right?
It looks like a church. Yes.
So this looks like a church, and it's the way I see it. That's one standing container, at least one laying container, probably 1, 2, 3, 4 laying containers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 open containers crossing that. So maybe let's say 10 containers, and one container costs about 3,000, 4,000 euro. And you can make the most beautiful stuff with containers, but the outside is what makes it beautiful for some people. But the outside doesn't matter, because if you look at something like this, this is a completely normal container. The outside, they haven't done anything to it, but you can see there's light. There's a couch standing here. It has a few windows. It has a patio. done. I mean, it may not be the most perfect of places, but for fuck's sake, you can live there and you can live a happy life. Or at least, I think I would. And you can always expand, as my lovely wife in the chat is saying.
As people have become so entitled, thus before, you know that. I mean, because this is why I sometimes talk about what, you know, life was like, say, for my parents when they got married, and lying on the floor, and the only furniture they had was bought on, they call the tick, which was hire purchase, and people just didn't have a lot of shit until they'd earned it and bought stuff because they'd earned it. And now it's like people grow up and they think, oh, I'm leaving school, I must live in a 100,000, 200,000 pound house with all mod cons. Don't worry about where the money for it comes from.
Yeah. And it doesn't, I mean, if you look at this, now this isn't container housing as such, but again, this is temp housing. I mean, you can see that the outside, it's actually built like scaffolding. It's not beautiful, but you know what? It's a temporary housing project. It's a roof over your head.
Excuse me, laughing millennial. You're praising Renovatio for something I said 5 minutes ago.
So she's slow. Come on.
No, but she's praising Renovatio for saying something I said 5 minutes ago.
Oh, okay. So, I mean,
it doesn't matter what it looks like on the outside, you will live on the inside, is what I said.
True that. No, but I mean, look at how and it
I was
doesn't
talking about all these things, like cars. It's like, who cares how nice it looks? You sat on the inside, is it comfy? Does it work?
Yeah. And on the inside, it's easy to, how do you call it? I can't find the word now. We talked about this pre-stream. Insulate. It's easy to insulate because of the shape of the container. You have plenty of room, and yeah, you can make the most beautiful things. I mean, look at this. It's silly, I know. It's a floating platform, I know, but it's still, I mean, I would live in something like that. And I'd be happy about that. Insulate, yes, insulate. Make it warm for the winter. Anyway, this wasn't really the whole thing that we were supposed to be talking about, but we got here a bit
Well, we're not
faster.
talking about cheese.
We're not talking about?
Cheese.
We're not talking about cheese. True that. Sorry, Michael, we're not talking about cheese. Can you imagine to make cheese in something like this? Anyway.
Sure, be fine.
So we have people coming to our countries and being entitled because they want something better. But to me, the worst part, they can add bomb-proofing on the inside, useful to protect the other neighbors. True that. The floating ones, yeah, that would be a good concept for the Netherlands. We do have floating houses in the Netherlands, which is a nice idea. Honest is honest.
We have some floating houses here. They aren't meant to be, but we have a lot of houses built on floodplains.
No, I mean, we have people living in boats.
No. We have a lot of housing built on floodplains.
Okay.
So they flood. Surprisingly, being floodplains.
Wait, because we have actually floating houses.
Richard Bayer, trust me, the United States has many attractions, such as at least a partially functioning judicial system.
And you can rent them in the Netherlands, and they're quite fucking expensive and all that.
Oh, I knew somebody who lived on a narrowboat in Camden, somewhere in central London.
What, in a canal boat?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that too. But no, I'm seriously talking about floating houses. Let me see if I can show people what I'm talking about.
But I mean, it was a 40 footer, I think, 40 feet. It was. Point is, it was plenty big enough for a single person.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, look at these houses. These are actually floating houses. They're not boats. They're really floating houses. But these are fucking expensive. I've looked into that as well. It's cheaper to buy
The damn proofing must be a pain.
Probably. Don't know. But I've looked into it when I was younger. It's actually cheaper to buy a canal boat. And I'm not talking about a canal boat English style, but I'm talking about a canal boat European style. It's cheaper to buy one of those and build it over into a house than to buy a house like this. The images I'm showing you are actually completely free floating. I mean, they're linked to a pier, but part of that pier itself is floating as well. So anyway, yeah, because this wasn't the topic we were wanting to talk about, but we got there a bit faster than we were supposed to.
You ain't supposed to. I didn't know there were any rules.
Yeah, there's. Come on, I send you this stuff. At least read it.
Richard Bayer. How comfortable am I seeing entire areas of people in bin overalls and straw hats? Believe me, there are parts of London where that would be an improvement. Just saying.
I mean, there are people talking about walking. What was it? Walking post boxes, PO boxes. Wasn't that what Boris Johnson said?
Not PO boxes, post boxes. Yes.
Sorry.
Pillar boxes.
Yeah. Pillar boxes.
No, but that wasn't what I was referring to.
Now, listen, Renovatio, if you're going to go and ask a nation to solve a housing problem, you don't need to ask the Dutch. You can just go in there, buy yourself a house, and get the fuck out again. I mean, we've been...
No, that's not what he means. He meant advice.
I know. The world comes to the... But let's be honest. If I think Thailand has lots of floating villages... I think even Hong Kong has floating villages, so it's technically speaking, the Dutch may be the best at it, but at the same time, I mean, it's.
Yeah, but sorry, I was anxious, Aussie. That is some feat. The only thing I can say, I went to school with someone from the Solomon Islands. I know that's a strange claim to fame, but there aren't many of them.
So, how can the sea level rise faster in the Solomon Islands than anywhere else?
That's a joke. It can't.
No, I mean, I can still remember that in the 80s they were talking about the immense sea rise, and I was a kid at school, and I remember being scared because I know that I live several meters under sea level. I do. I live on the second floor of a house, and I'm still 2 meters under sea level. There you go. But somehow in the Netherlands that never was an issue. So after the initial scaremongering, oh, the sea level is going to rise, I was one of the students like, so how come this is a problem, considering we're already 4 or 5 meters under sea level? What does it...
Actually,
what makes that
Sorry.
extra meter so much more of a problem?
Actually, it's funny you should say that, because London's exactly the same. Way back here, I think it was in the 80s, they built the barrier on the River Thames.
Mm-hmm.
The problem it was anticipated was, because the Thames is tidal, you have a very high spring tide
Mm-hmm.
with a lot of water flowing down, and then basically the two bodies of water cause it to surge up and flood. And so they built the Thames barrier to block the inflow of the tide and only allow out the water flowing down the river. And as far as I'm aware, they barely use it. And this was what, in the 80s, so that's 35 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, well, we do have some big water turning contraptions, because there are moments in time when there's a spring surge, for example, which can be considered a bit scary. I mean,
Well, you do have your tidal boards.
yeah. So there are problems. I'm not going to say it's
No,
nothing.
people go surfing on them.
Well, yeah. But in 1952, we lost a lot of people because the province Zeeland and the city I live in actually disappeared partly underwater. Which is an issue, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's not good.
But, I mean, yeah, they didn't have the protection I have. And that's the thing. I mean, there's no such thing as complete safety.
Yeah, you try telling that to your entitled Eritrean immigrant.
That's beautiful. But can you imagine if someone... Because the first time I saw it, and I saw it on Twitter, the first time I saw it, I was like, okay, Sky News is broadcasting this as if this woman actually has a problem. And I'm like...
Yeah, she does. She has an entitlement problem.
She has an entitlement problem.
She's
but
way too entitled.
But the fact that the
is a
house is
problem.
too small, I don't see how that can be a problem. But I seriously can't see how it can be a problem.
No, I mean, honestly, so I float this notion about, like you've heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and
Yeah.
you start at and I float this concept of a parallel hierarchy of problems, and as you go up in your hierarchy of your condition, so as your state becomes better, your problems become what's the word? Mathematical thingy where you exponentially more trivial. So at the bottom, I need food, I need shelter, I need, basics. At the top, you've got manspreading and all the important issues of modern day feminism.
Important issues, for fuck's sake. Yeah. It's amazing.
But yeah, because you can judge somebody's life by the things they consider to be a problem. And they do seem to be inversely related.
Yeah.
The better someone's life, the more they consider stupid, irrelevant shit to matter, which is gobsmackingly stupid.
And I mean, if I look at that, I mean, yes, I know she's entitled, the one from the video, she's absolutely entitled. But how entitled is Sky News to make it sound like this is an actual
No, that's
issue?
not entitled, that's propaganda.
Well, yeah, that too, but still. I mean, how are we taking this serious? There are people living on the street.
But they don't have television sets, and so they won't know.
Well,
When you are sending out propaganda, you have to know your target.
it's weird though. It's
And you have to wonder, sometimes, if they're being sincere or if they're deliberately stoking up resentment.
Well, it seems like this is deliberately stoking it up.
No, sorry. I mean, you know, the people who are, you know, yeah, sorry, I apologize. I think.
I'm sorry. It's the
That's right.
hierarchy of fucking entitlement assholes these days, and all of them are on the left are backed by them. Well, that could be true. Wealth and population redistribution at the end of the day. I'm not really sure if it's wealth redistribution, but it is population redistribution, that's for sure. Because it seems
the
that
problem with the left is they have no principles, and so they will literally search and seek for any angle, and they are sincere about 0% of it.
yeah, it's it's something I never really understood. Now this might be me being silly, or
But again, you see, this comes back to my point, because 40 years ago, the left concentrated on things like jobs. Now it concentrates on things like this. Why?
Yeah.
Because the world's got a shitload better in those 40 years. At least for the middle class elites who constitute the left these days.
yeah. It's
Yeah, who's humming? Someone's humming apparently.
it's probably my echo.
I can't hear it.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of is my echo, to be honest. And no, I'm not turning it off. Sorry. It's sweltering. It's too warm. It's more than refugees. We have Irish travellers here in Ireland, now an ethnic minority, who had an entire housing estate made for them. They rejected it as it didn't have stables for their horses.
I have to say though, which moron builds a housing estate, especially for a population, without first talking to that population?
There is that.
No, seriously, this is the problem, because you get these frigging government morons thinking that they can unilaterally decide what's going to be good for people, and then they are never right. They're never even close. If you're going to build something for someone, go and talk to them what they want.
True that.
You know, I mean, okay, if they all say, well, we all want a 15-bedroom mansion, you can tell them to fuck off. But if they basically give you a simple requirement that costs no more than what you were going to do anyway, then you can say, yeah, we'll do it to match what you actually want.
True that. It's weird though.
Though I do worry about having them all in one housing estate. Sorry, Renovatio. That does not sound like a good idea. After all, they are travellers for a reason.
Well, there is that. I mean, they might not even want to stay like that in one place. Did people consider
Well, no, they would then become settlers.
that? Well, yes. True that. No, but it's weird. I think weird is the best word I can use for it now. I'm sorry. Anyway, so yeah, this wasn't the original intention of our talk. We were supposed to start on.
We never stick to the original.
That is true. That is very true. We are.
I am ready.
You're ready? What do you mean you're ready?
Because I'm going to do my bit.
Well, go on and do your bit then.
Are you sure I'm allowed?
Well, all right then. No, I can't remember where we wanted to start, to be honest.
What do you mean we will start? You were going to talk about your entitled woman. We have now spoken about the entitled woman.
Wrong.
And I'm now going to talk about something completely different,
Yeah.
but also exactly the same.
Yeah.
So this morning, in a strange fit of absent-mindedness, I recorded the contents in this spreadsheet of a drawer of video cassettes. These video cassettes basically are. Are you sharing the screen, Modway?
Not at the moment, but
Then share the fucking screen.
I didn't know that. You didn't tell me.
I'm
Here we
starting my
go.
segment. I said share the screen during my segment.
Right. Always the same. Screen tool.
Jeez.
There
Okay,
you go, people.
So, when I first got my video recorder, which was in the mid-1980s, storage where I lived.
Yes.
I wasn't going to talk about my entitled woman. He was going to talk about his entitled
Yeah,
woman.
that's why it sounded wrong.
Yeah, but not his in that sense, not possessive sense. Okay, so, but now, when I moved in with my wife, shortage of space is not a problem. And so there's drawers and things full of things that perhaps I could have got rid of years ago, including a shed load of old VHS videos.
Uh-huh.
And so I wrote down what all the things were on these videos. And then I did a little research as to what year they were and so forth. Okay, as you may or may not be able to see. Now, the point of this is this. I started recording in 1985, and I have a particular fondness for old black and white movies of the 30s and 40s. Though, as you can see, the whole, I put them in year order. The oldest film is She Done Him Wrong from 1933, and the newest film was True Lies from 1994. And the point being was that 1985 to 1945 was 40 years. And it occurred to me, looking up this list, about halfway down the list, 1979 is 40 years ago. And in fact, the films of 1979 here are Apocalypse Now and The Life of Brian, two great films.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me that in this day and age, with all the youngsters on the interwebs talking about Marvel things, and it's all like, oh, couldn't be bothered. Not like the real films of when I was young.
Well,
And then I
your
realised
age.
that this was 40 years ago. And yet 40 years ago, from before 1985, was 1945. And obviously I have a very different perception of 1945 in relation to 1985. So when I was recording films in 1985, I wasn't thinking, oh, that's not that long ago. It was quite a while before I was born, for instance. And yet now, I think 1979 isn't that long ago, because it's in my lifetime. And this got me to thinking about how you can take something 40 years, sounds nice and simple, doesn't it? 40 years. How our perception of that span of time is very different if it's one we've lived to something in the past, say.
Uh-huh.
Because I was born at the start of the 60s, so it was only 17 years after the end of the war, 16 and a bit probably. Not that long a time. That's this century. 16 years ago was this century. Yet, it seemed like a world before. And yet it was only 16 years.
But a lot of things have changed within.
Oh yes, a lot of things have changed. But what I'm trying to say is when you're growing up, those years before you can remember is it seems a magnitude of time different to the same amount of time in your life is what I'm trying to get at.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all about perception, because when we think about things, we don't think about things evenly, even when they're the same. And this example of the 40 years is an example of a film from 1945. So, for instance, let's see here. We've got from 1944 to Have and Have Not, one of my favouriteest ever films. Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall, Walter Brennan. Absolutely fantastic, brilliant film. Set during World War II in the Caribbean, Martinique, I think it was, somewhere like that. Then you have Clooney Brown, which was also had a wartime flavour. It's a Wonderful Life, Jimmy Stewart, an American classic. And The Big Sleep, Humphrey Bogart. And those were 1946. And yet that world of those films was a world away from 1985.
Well,
As Modern says, no, as you said, so much had changed in that interval. And in a way, so much has changed now since 40 years from before today, 1979.
mm-hmm.
And yet also it hasn't.
Yeah.
And
The way people look at things has massively changed now.
no, but that's the thing, because I get very confused when young people talk about old films and they're talking about films from the 90s.
Yeah.
But then looking at this, I would have thought the same thing about films from the 40s. If I was born, if they were born, only 20 years ago, then a film in the 90s might seem very old.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all, as I say, it's all about perception. The difference in finding it very hard mentally to equate two things that are the same because they seem so different.
Wow, I can't even remember that Terminator was from 1984.
Yeah, I know. So, yes, Blazing Saddles, 1974.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
They can't make that now.
They can't make that. Absolutely not.
That would be way too racist.
I say, I didn't seem to like the 60s. I've only got two films from the 60s.
Mm-hmm. Well, The Good and the Bad and the Ugly, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, that is a classic. Catch 22.
And funny how it took an Italian to make a decent Western.
Most of the decent Westerns are made by Italian, mate.
No, I know, that's a joke.
They didn't call them spaghetti westerns for nothing, but they were bloody brilliant.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just saying, it's like.
No, I like it when people start talking. Well, we need strong female characters in sci-fi movies, and I'm like, seriously?
You haven't heard of what was it, Riley?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
no,
this is the
not
problem.
Dennis.
They have no memory. They have
no
literally no memory. Nothing has ever happened before.
If we look at and the Terminator is a great example of that, because Arnold Schwarzenegger is the bad guy in that one, and the good guy is this woman trying to stay alive.
Yep.
She is the main role in that movie, in the story, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, that doesn't count apparently.
No, of course not.
No, not too long ago, I saw somewhere an article where people were talking about it. They're like, yeah, okay, well, there were white women in sci-fi movies, but Ripley. But Ripley was an alien, which was also a good movie. Oh yeah, indeed, what Ludacris said. It's Sarah Connors. Thank you, mate. I forgot that name, but I see you typing it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
our chat is our memory because we're too old for it. And I'm
Too old
on my
farts.
second beer. And this is why I use a spreadsheet so I can record it all and then I can just read.
But it is kind of funny that people kind of seem to forget anything that doesn't fit their language.
Yeah, well, you know, people are so frigging sensitive and have no sense of fun, sense of humour.
But Red Sonja was fantasy, not communist. Yes, I know the Red. It depends which Red Sonja you mean, I guess. I
think of the Arnold Schwarzenegger one.
Yeah. Well, do you have it, by the way? No, you
No.
don't. No, you don't. That was a good movie.
To be fair, you see, I mean, like some of the films I used to have on video, I have since got on DVD, and therefore they aren't on this list.
Fair point.
So these are just the ones that were in the drawer. In fact, I have Blades and Saddles and Young Frankenstein on DVD. But for some reason, I still have the VHS cassette as well, and The Life of Brian and Monty Python. So there's quite a few of these on DVD as well.
But yeah, no, it's kind of funny. But a lot of the things that people now deem appreciate or still don't appreciate are based on our current society. I mean, look at Total Recall. If you look at the remake of Total Recall, it was an absolute farce. I mean, I've seen the original, I've seen the remake, and for the life of me, I can't understand why they made the remake. I mean, it's not as if the original movie wasn't any good, and they didn't add to it. They actually detracted from it.
Well, I'm sure they had to get more PCs. That's why they had to remake it, because there were all kinds of very naughty references in the original.
Oh yeah, that was brilliant.
Like the woman in that bar with 3 breasts.
That one I never really cared much about. But there's this one scene where, and this is a scene that always stuck to my head. I always loved that one. When Arnold Schwarzenegger walks into the bar and steps up to the woman that he's supposed to find, and it's a redhead, and basically he says he's looking for her, and she grabs him in the crotch and say, "What have you been feeding it?" And he says, "Mostly blondes." Brilliant. But yeah.
Huh?
No, you missed it? Oh, I have to look it up one day.
The things that you find memorable and the things I find memorable are clearly disjoint.
Anyway, so yeah, no, great movie, and then the remake is so much weaker. It's
like music. When they remake a song in music, and unless it is adding something, you just have to go, why?
But they also made the remake of Blade Runner, and I loved the original Blade Runner.
No, they made a sequel.
Well, yeah, it's a sequel, okay, but it's still
no,
crap.
It's not the same thing. Remaking a film and doing a sequel are 2 different things.
Yeah, but I mean, even as a sequel, it doesn't make sense. Well, it goes against the original story.
Fine, but they're still not the same thing.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. It's still crap.
I mean, if they made Female Ghostbusters as a sequel, it wouldn't have been as bad, I think, conceptually.
So, yeah.
Sorry.
The Blues Brothers is a good movie, by the way.
They're all good movies. I mean, She Done Him Wrong. Okay, so She Done Him Wrong, misquote. Casablanca, misquote. What else has got misquotes in it? There's quite a few of these films which have got famous misquotes. If you've never seen it, try and catch Insignificance. It's a very peculiar film. It's actually a British film. where it's a set with 4 characters, and they're called the actress, the professor, the senator, and the ball player. And it's Marilyn Monroe, Albert Einstein, Senator Joe McCarthy, and Joe DiMaggio. And basically, it's Einstein getting off with Marilyn Monroe.
Okay.
Which is quite amusing. In a very fantasized thing. Like.
Well, I haven't seen it, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, you've got a nice list of movies. I don't have a list like that.
Well, it was just what I'd recorded and stuck into in a drawer.
Well,
and just to show
Saddles.
there's nothing new, one of the films, Clooney Brown, 1946, American film, but it's set in Britain. And the description is an American satire on the smugness of British high society. And I thought, nothing new under the sun, is there?
But actually, now that I see Blazing Saddles, I think I have to download it again. Because I haven't seen that one for a long time. That was a good movie. I probably have the video somewhere as well, to be honest. But I'm not sure if my VHS is still up to the task. What with it having been used for more than 10 years. So it's basically a paperweight now. But yeah, no, I mean, the way we look at movies and the way we look at old movies and the way we look at new movies, we look at things based on how we want to perceive them.
Do we?
Yeah, that's why we can always see new things in a movie. Because
no, but you're saying how we want to perceive.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're saying you never look at anything just with an open mind?
No, you can't. You can try to, but this is why I think it tied in with the other part.
No, but you said want, and want is not a good term.
Because we always will have a perceptual set. It's not something we can turn on or off.
But want implies desire, an act of preference.
It might not be a 100% cognitive want, but yeah.
No, it's not want. Want cannot be the right word.
Well, okay, then give me a better word.
Well, I don't know, because I'm trying to work out what you're trying to say.
So when we look at things, part of what we look at, we interpret.
We have our biases and preconceptions.
Yeah.
These are subconscious. They are the opposite of want.
Not really.
Yes.
No, because it's. For example, if you look at a footy match, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like I did earlier. Yes.
Like
indeed.
you did earlier, and you will do again. And
next Saturday morning, lunchtime, should I say?
Most likely. And you go into the match, and you're like, okay, I want this team to win, or I want that team to win. Cognitively, so you're aware of knowing this. You will look at the match differently than if you go to the team to the match and say, you know what, I'm hoping to see a nice game.
Yeah, and I sometimes do one, and I sometimes do the other.
Yes, but there are moments that you do not recognize that you want someone to win, even though it is part of your perceptual set, to call it like this. It's a bad example.
Oh no, I'm always aware when I want someone to win, and I'm always aware when I don't.
You might be aware when you don't want someone to win, but you're not always aware when you want someone to win.
Oh, trust me, I am.
Okay. Well, then you're a very unique individual, but
I am indeed a very unique individual.
On average, when we look at things, we are.
But this is why you should never generalise. This is why it's always important to cite that there are exceptions, because it's the existence of exceptions needs to be measured and understood. Just because most, well, what does most? Over 50%? You know, and it's like people say, oh, most people this, right? So still a significant minority don't any given thing, and those who don't matter and influence the outcome. And so there's all this sloppiness in language. Oh, society this and people that, and it's never true. And it drives me nuts because it distorts the conversation. The conversation is, well, a large number of people are like this, and that's fine. It's like I was talking about with advertising the other week. It's like when they say, oh, advertising works, doesn't mean it works on everybody the same. Because it doesn't have to.
No, that is true.
It doesn't have to. All it has to do is work on enough people to be cost effective.
Was there more, by the way, was there more you wanted to share with us?
In terms of?
Well, I'm sharing your screen, so.
Yeah, no. Sorry. You said more I want to share with in terms of, you mean, have I done talking about the old films? Because I can take you through my old films.
You can, as you wish.
Because I just thought, as a paean of praise to the 90s, especially the older films. Okay, so the oldest film I've got, She Done Him Wrong. This is the only film I have with Mae West in it, where her misquoted line, "Why don't you come up and see me sometime?" is only very slightly a misquote. Because I think she says something like, "Sometime, why don't you come up and see me?" So it's like the same words in the wrong order. And she does say it to Cary Grant. And it was a very young and handsome Cary Grant. So you can't blame her, really.
You can't?
Well, no. It was Mae West talking to a young Cary Grant.
Yeah, it must have been a young Cary Grant by then, yeah.
It happened one night. Very, very interesting film. I'll tell you what, it's a very interesting film because it's there's a scene in it where they are hungry, and they talk about the oddity of eating raw carrot, which, to my mind, isn't an oddity at all. But obviously, in the 1930s in America, the concept of eating raw vegetables was an oddity.
Okay. Bullets or
Then
Ballets.
we have a combination of comedies and gangster movies.
What is Ninochka?
Ninochka is it's actually a satire on the Soviet Revolution. It's set in 1917, and it's about some communists trying to sell diamonds in Paris in order to raise money for the Soviet Revolution.
Okay.
But it's also, it's got Greta Garbo in it. So.
Yeah. So that's its redeeming feature then.
No, it's a good film. It's they made entertaining films with stories back in those days. Casablanca, of course, with the misquote, "Play it again, Sam," which didn't say. He said, "You played it for her, you can play it for me." That's what he said. The Have and Have Not, which is a much better film than Casablanca, in my own view. One of the best films ever made. It's really, really funny. Loosely based on the Ernest Hemingway novel, but not really. And Lauren Bacall's debut. And Lauren Bacall sings a song in the film where the voice is actually dubbed by a young Andy Williams.
I wouldn't know who either of those people are, to be honest.
You don't know who Lauren Bacall is?
Not really, no.
No, she was an actress, and Andy Williams, in Britain in the 1970s, he's an American entertainer, a sort of singer, and he used to have a TV show, and it used to be on British television.
Okay.
And a young him dubbed her. They got him to do her voice singing.
Okay.
Then we have the most classic Christmas movie of all time, It's a Wonderful Life. Not a dry eye in the house, of course.
Yeah, I'm not one for Christmas flicks, to be honest.
Then we have Harvey, which is James Stewart really proving he can do comedy. Absolutely hilarious. And you learn what a puka is.
Know what the what is?
Puka.
No?
Puka. Harvey's a puka. It is.
Okay.
Hello. Yes. A 6-foot invisible rabbit.
Right.
Yeah. Then we have Africa Queen, which goes to prove you can make a good film with just 2 people on a boat. Admittedly, down an African river with lots of drama, but basically 2 people on a boat.
Yeah, they made a movie with 1 person on a boat and a CGI tiger, so why not?
Oh, is that the Life of Pi?
I can't remember the name, but
Yeah,
it won a few
it'd be The Life
prizes,
of
I
Pi,
think.
yeah.
I haven't seen it, to be honest.
Dreamboat. One of my favourite comic actresses of all time is Ginger Rogers, and she's mostly known for Dancing with Fred Astaire. Though even in the odd one of her Fred Astaire films, she showed her comic genius. But she made some just straight up comedies without dancing or music, including Dreamboat. She also did Bachelor Mum with David Niven, another great film. The 7-Year Itch, which has got that scene in it. And if you don't know what I mean, or like I say, Subways.
Hi there, Toxic, and I have no idea which scene you mean, sorry.
Marilyn Monroe addressed the subway.
Oh, you mean where the wind is coming under her shirt?
It's not a...
So is that from that one?
That's from that one.
I did not know, but okay.
Catch-22, read the book, it's better.
Yeah, I've seen that one. I think the book is a lot better. Not even close. I thought the movie...
they had to miss a lot out. That was the problem.
Yeah, but usually, I mean, this is true for every movie, every book that's being turned into a movie. But when it came to Catch-22, in my humble opinion, they left out too much.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's still funny.
Yeah.
And then we have 2 of the great acts of Mel Brooks, Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein, Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get into the modern world, so to speak.
The Cuckoo's Nest was a good one as well.
Yeah, very depressing. Apocalypse Now, Life of Brian, an airplane. I obviously had a more whimsical. There were some good comedies around.
Yeah. I don't know. I never really liked Airplane. It was too much.
Oh no, it was brilliant. But maybe you needed to speak English better.
No, I needed to speak English better at that time.
Because that's where the humour was.
Yeah, but it was so
Funny.
I mean, I've never been a slapstick guy, and this was too much slapstick to my liking.
Anyway, it was a disaster. It was a spoonful of disaster movie. You had
That
to
is
have
true.
experienced
That
the
is
disaster movies of the 70s to really enjoy it,
yeah.
because they were shite.
I always liked the one joke I did like though is, and that's when my drinking problem started. And you see him with a glass and he throws it next to his face instead of pouring it down his throat, because he had a drinking problem.
Yeah.
As in, I have a problem drinking. It's so silly. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on my list, as you can see. So then we got the Blues Brothers.
Oh, I didn't see.
Fantastic
Sorry.
comedy, and I love the music, and very, very silly.
Yeah.
With fun American Nazis in. That's how you deal with Nazis in America. You take the piss out of them.
Yeah.
Excalibur, which I think is one of the better retellings of the Arthurian legend.
Can't
Very
remember
good.
having seen that one, to be honest.
Then we've got Time Bandits.
That was a funny movie.
Another Terry Gilliam. And as you can see, I've said starring it a bunch of little people. Because that's who starred in it, a bunch of little people.
But it was a funny movie.
It was a very funny movie. Then Paris, Texas, which was, if only for the score by Ry Cooder, to be honest. I do like Ry Cooder music.
I will look into that one, Ludacris, about the miniseries. I am curious.
And we got Terminator, Top Secret, who was made by the same people as made Airplane. So I'm guessing if you didn't like one, you wouldn't like the other.
I don't think I've seen...
Sean Connery in it.
I can't remember seeing Top
has,
Secret.
But never mind. Brazil.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
Brazil has Sean Connery in it. And Robert De Niro. And lots of other cameo appearances. In significance, I talked about Letter to Brezhnev. It's nothing to do with Russia apart from it's about a Liverpool woman's love for a Russian sailor. No Surrender, that's a peculiar British film. Won't go into that. Witness, everything I ever learnt about the Amish comes from this film. And if it's untrue, well, blame Witness.
I think I've seen that movie too, and what I've been told, obviously the behavior of the two guys, well, the woman and the guy, looking for shelter among them. Yes, that their behavior is theirs.
No. No one looked for shelter amongst them. She was Amish, he was a guard.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of a different movie then. Probably thinking of a different movie then.
Raising Arizona, that is funny as fuck. And Nicolas Cage really did some fantastically deadpan. Others which Toxic Thread should appreciate because it's got Christian Slater in. 12th Night. This is a TV movie, but it's really good make of 12th Night. And then Batman. The 1989 version, which I enjoyed and had Jack Nicholson in it. He was brilliant.
He came back indeed, Michael Keller. Sometimes we have to follow the chat. So, on air talk, Anxious Aussie said, "Oh, I cried at the end of Terminator 2. They killed Arnie." And then Michael Keller, he came back. Well, that's what he said.
Considering they made him, if you know what I mean.
Well, he always does, even when you don't need him.
Yeah. Enough of that, because the new ones, whatever. So, yes. So, check out the old black and white ones. Because here's the thing. I'm old enough to remember black and white television.
I've seen black and white as well.
No. I'm old enough to remember black and white television when there wasn't colour.
Any colour, yes. Well, I mean, it kind of also shows, I mean, as my wife is saying, well, I mean, when I was young in Poland, we only had black and white television as well.
Mm-hmm.
But in all fairness, at that time, most of the Western world had colour, so there is that.
Yeah, it's only them damn Yankees who had colour.
And according to Toxic Thread, she's living Raising Arizona.
Yeah, I think she's loving it. She's probably using her voice app.
Hoppa.
I've stopped sharing, mate.
Yes. And then I have to do this.
Anyway, so my point being is that, to me, I found that films from the from the 40s that were 40 years before I watched them. Very different to the way I perceive 40-year-old films from my own lifetime now.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't, I cannot think of films like Apocalypse Now in the same way as I thought of The Big Sleep when I watched it in the 80s.
Well, I can't. But that's the thing, though. I think it's, and this is something I fall for myself. It's something I can blame myself over. Or at times, it's like, oh yeah, no, I like that. I really like that. I don't like that, and it's okay. But based on what?
Yeah.
It's
whether you like it or not. Sometimes.
yes, but what makes you like something or not? And sometimes it's not even it's not even something you can quantify yourself. Is what I'm trying to say.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because there's a small channel. Basically, one of these people, Sarah. I don't know if anyone's seen these live streams. What's his name? Oh, for goodness sake, isn't here. Jimmy Stiffingers. He would know her. Sarah. she used to appear on these streams, and she has a channel called The Daughter of Albion, or Daughters of Albion. I can't remember the singular plural. And she just put out she reads stuff basically, and she just read out an extract of somebody singing the praises of Richard Wagner's music. And as often is the case with serious music, somebody went totally overboard and, oh, for goodness sake, it's like, yeah, it's just music. So my comment was, I'm so glad I just like rock music, because it's just rock music. None of this overblown, oh, it makes me feel this and imagine that. It's like, who gives a fuck? Do you like it? Does it sound good?
I had to chuckle a bit at Renovacio's I Can't Wait for Apocalypse Soon, starring AOC. I'm sorry. That was funny. No, but yeah. Oh, sorry. It is interesting to see the movies that we've seen in our past. I mean, you showed us yours, but...
Well, this was just a selection, because obviously it was just the ones that still happen to be in that drawer and haven't been watched for 20, 25 years. Because ever since we got a DVD machine, I didn't tend to watch the old VHS very often.
Mm-hmm. Still,
yeah.
It's
the funny thing is, there was a time when I watched the films a lot, and I'd watch the same film over and over, which was one of the reasons for keeping them. And then it's like, it was like I'd done watching. There just came a point where it felt like I had just done watching, because I'd seen each of the films I liked enough times, and then it was like, oh, I've had enough of that. Let's do something different. And then I started reading books about neurology and language and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got into this YouTube business.
Yeah, makes you wonder. It's kind of funny, because not too long ago we had quite a long stream talking about books. We talked about Terry Pratchett, for example. But I find it far harder to speak a long time about movies. I don't know why.
Because the experience of them is very, very subjective.
Yeah,
I find it impossible. It's like, if you say, oh, I like such a brilliant movie, go and watch it, and then the person you speak to might hate it. And they'll say to you, oh, yeah, this film's terrible, and you'll go and watch it, it's brilliant. And because everything's just so personal.
Yeah, that's true.
How do you convey the sense you have inside, the way that your understanding of a piece of art works for you to somebody else who does not have the same brain and therefore the same perspective and everything?
Mm-hmm.
And as the general underlying theme is all about perspective and perception, that is very important. You know, and it's like I get very bored with all these streams where they like review films or talk about films or comics, or it's like, oh really, so boring. Even if I liked the thing they were talking about, I wouldn't be interested.
Yeah, I can understand that. Still, it's not as easy, I guess.
Yeah, no.
Committing suicide on suicide.
Epstein. It's been turned into a verb already.
The four horse faces of the apocalypse. So basically we're now going to talk about the... How do you call them? The...
Vulcan mind meld. What? Where has that come from, Richard?
What? Vulcan mind melt?
No, I know what the Vulcan mind meld is, but where's that come into the conversation?
Yeah, well, I guess I've been missing the chat for a while now because I have no idea.
Well, that anxious Aussie, her dad did, so if she's a good daughter, she'll follow in his footsteps.
Well, and sadly there will be enough riders who'd ride these horses of the apocalypse. Well, that's the funny thing. If you read Good Omens, and they made a series about Good Omens, and in Good Omens the four horsemen of the apocalypse come together in a small city, village actually, not city, close to London. But in the book you have the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and they come together at a truck stop or something. But in that truck stop there are also some other bikers who then drive along as the other four horsemen of the apocalypse. They didn't bring them back in the series, but in the book they're fucking funny. They're hilarious. So yeah, in all fairness, if we look at what you are calling the four horsemen, the DNC destroyers, I consider to be the other four horsemen, to be honest. But yeah. There was sci-fi on John's VHS,
Yes,
Michael.
I had Total Recall for a start.
Total Recall, Terminator. Terminator is sci-fi.
Yep. Futurology.
Anywho. So yeah, so far that. Anything else we want to put forward?
How about Shuffle to the Side?
How about what?
Shuffle to the Side.
Shuffle to the side.
To share your experiences and impressions of a movie with others who said something was good. I see, Richard. Yes, I'm with you now. I am with you. Yes, that's a good idea. If only it existed. And you're in touching distance, because it's very hard to do a Vulcan mind meld without physical contact.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point, Ludicrous. It's yeah, what is it? What is Prism? The funny thing is at the time it was made, you could argue it was it was a bit like 1984, in that 1984 featured technology that didn't exist at the time, but which is now passé. And Brazil was a bit the same. It was like it had a certain antiquated feel, like a 40s feel, but with advanced technology for the time it was made. One of my favourite films of all time is Blade Runner, and that is definitely sci-fi.
Okay. Yeah, I think Blade Runner was a good movie, but I have to say, in all fairness, to me, the best movie ever made was The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy.
Really?
It
Why?
was so funny. I mean, nothing other than that, but it was a great movie, really funny.
Well, if you have a strange sense of humour, but if that's your greatest film, that's fine. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
For me, Blade Runner is one of them. To Have and Have Not from the 40s is another. Because this is the thing, different films hit different points. You know, they work in different ways. You've got comedies, you've got musicals, you've got horror, you've got thrillers, you've got all kinds of different films, and they work on different moods. And there's actually no point sticking on a comedy when you're in a dark and somber place and you don't feel like comedy. You want to watch something, you know.
Yeah.
Indeed. Did I ever see the film called Head? I think I might have done, but it didn't make an impression if I did. I mean, there are lots of films that aren't there. Possibly because I have them on DVD. I thought of 3 off the top of my head earlier, talking with Alicia. One was His Girl Friday, which is another one of the greatest films ever made, which is Cary Grant and I can't even know who played Hildy Johnson in that version. Bringing Up Baby, Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn, and A Leopard. And oh shit, what was the other one? Baby. There's another one. Doesn't matter. Not important. I'm not going with this one. Yes, often. Yes. Oh, brain's gone dead. Yes. So there are all kinds of older films that I really, really like, which aren't in that list, but just really, really like. Humphrey Bogart, Cary Grant, some Jimmy Stewart. Things like the Thin Man series with William Powell and Myrna Loy. She was funny too. Just to prove that even in the 30s, women were funny.
Even back then?
Well, no, because of this long-running thing that women aren't funny, with which I totally disagree. It's the problem with modern comedians is they think talking about feminism is comedy. Whereas they just used to be funny.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's funny. I mean, it's not comedy, but it's funny.
No, but you know what I mean. It's like, You know, if they just stuck to being funny. I mean, that we talk about TV that changed the mold. For me, several of the ones that changed the mold were one of the main ones was Roseanne, because Roseanne was horrible, and in American television, you didn't have the main character be horrible and have things not turn out all right. Everything was twee and safe, and there was always a little moral at the end. But not in Roseanne. In Roseanne, it was like life, really harsh. And it was as funny as fuck. It was, you know. And I remember when I went to the States, I've only been once, that was 1995. And it was like, you could turn on the TV and there would be an episode of Roseanne showing at any time of day, any day of the week. It was still that big at the time.
Yeah. I remember it being a big deal as well.
But it was funny.
It was.
And no one turned around and said Roseanne Barr isn't funny because she's a woman.
Yeah, but
that's funny.
She was funny because she was funny, but then again, they weren't politically correct.
Exactly.
So I'm not surprised that she got axed.
No, but that was for the remake. I'm talking about the original. And to be fair, if you've got Roseanne Barr and John Goodman, you've already got a pretty solid base. And do you know George Clooney started in Roseanne?
I did not know that, but I'm willing to believe that.
He played a very minor character in some of the early series, and God, he was young. It was a very big part.
Okay.
This is how long ago it was. Yes.
It's a long time ago.
Of course.
See, yeah, I find it difficult to talk about movies in general, I notice.
You know, we talk about TV program with Roseanne.
True that, true that. Still.
Store manager, he was something to do with a caterer or something. Working in a kitchen. I can't remember exactly. It's been a long time. Arthur cast The Big Bang Theory. Yeah, one of the son went to The Big Bang Theory. I know that much.
No, I mean,
what was weird about Roseanne is Becky changed.
Yeah, one of the son went to no, it wasn't the son. One of the boys that played in Roseanne also played in Big Bang Theory. Leonard. I don't remember the name.
No, he was the son.
Was he?
Yes.
I don't think so, because
the son from Roseanne became the guy in Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, but he wasn't. That's what I'm trying to say. He wasn't the son because he had an affair or girlfriend-boyfriend relationship with the daughter of Roseanne, which was that black-haired kid who also played a few roles in the series, but she wasn't one of the main cast.
What? Yeah. No, I like the second Becky. I like the second. She did that ER thingy with that other thingy.
Ida Goron, by the way.
Oh, it was a boyfriend.
Yeah, Leonard was the
My
boyfriend.
apologies.
That's what I said.
I was wrong.
Yes, thank you, Ludacris. We need to team up on him, that's for sure.
Darlene's boyfriend.
Yeah, and Darlene also has a role in Big Bang Theory where she plays that.
Is she?
Yeah,
I know she was on The Talk.
No, but she had Leslie Winkle. Yeah. Thank you.
Leslie Winkle.
Yeah, because he had 1 or 2 times sex with her.
Leslie Winkle.
But
Is that a name of a character? I've never watched Big Bang Theory. So.
yeah, that's the name of a character.
You're lost.
It's not how you spell sun, Michael. I am clutching at straws at this point.
Indeed. Glad you're saying it.
Yeah, well, and?
Yeah, merely mentioning it.
Oh, God, what was that bloody medical comedy? With
MASH.
the one where the second Becky went and played in it.
That's not MASH.
Brad Dourif.
I wouldn't know.
Brad Dourif. I can never pronounce his name.
I wouldn't know. I seriously wouldn't know.
No. It's amazing. You can type almost any name into the internet and you'll get a match, no matter how badly spelled.
It's a fourth foreign language. How many languages do you speak? Wait, don't speak any of them. Sorry, that's silly. Yeah.
No, not Brad Dourif. Brad something or other. God
Anyway,
damn it.
we're rambling, aren't we?
And you're saying that's a bad thing. We've got an
Really
audience. We've got 9
mentioning it?
people watching, which is more than we had earlier. Let's just keep going.
We can keep going. No, that way we scare him away, didn't he?
No, crikey. I can't remember his name. Bloody annoying. There's yeah. Oh, hang on. I know. I could look. Roseanne, Becky, the second. Sarah Chalk. Yes, I actually thought that Sarah Chalk was very on the attractive side. I'm just saying. I
Not a
thought
clue.
she was very attractive.
I'm willing to believe that.
But as you may have guessed, remembering things like names is not my strong point. Scrubs, that's the one. Scrubs was the American.
Oh, Scrubs. Yeah, that was a pretty good series.
Yeah, well, she was in that. She was a main character in Scrubs.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
She was the love interest. I know you were, Michael. That's where I copied it from. Thank you. But yes. So I'm actually a second Becky. Because I must admit I thought she was dead cute in Scrubs.
Okay.
Just saying. And maybe it'll even tell me what the name of that bloody co-star in Scrubs was.
Yeah, I haven't got a clue. I'm terrible with names to begin with.
There was a Turk.
Yeah, but Turk is the character's name.
Yeah.
Zach Braff. Well, I was nearly completely wrong.
Nearly completely wrong.
There might have been a few of the same letters.
Right.
Now, I must admit that really hit my sense of humour, did Scrubs. I really liked that one. For the first few, anyway. These things tended to peter out a little bit. Never mind, Goran. And how do you pronounce that funny O anyway? I apologise, but my knowledge of certain Northern European languages is nil.
Well, I wouldn't know either.
Though it depends. Are you American, Goran? Oh yeah, absolutely toxic. No doubt he's a douche, but he was funny in Scrubs. Well, Scrubs was funny, especially for Sarah Chalk. I find quite attractive.
Yeah, Scrubs was funny. I've been following your stream for a while now. Toxic Thread, John, the Bemused, the Laughing Millennial are known. I think I heard them on Rin Mikhail's stream a while ago. Yeah, we've been on Rin Mikhail's stream as well, Goron. That's indeed quite some time ago. I haven't spoken to Rin for a while now, which is I'm hoping she's
Well,
doing all right.
she's gone quiet because of a certain person.
Well,
who's recently apparently made yet another video about it.
Yeah, not much we can do. That is, I haven't seen those though, so I can't really talk about them anyway.
Anyone can speak, so that not a skill.
Well, I hope we can speak in a somewhat funny manner.
Yeah, well, you do. You've got that silly Dutch accent.
Yeah, you call it silly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's not, though.
Ah.
I think he's driving on the wrong side of the road.
Well, that's the thing, though, with those islanders. Always on the wrong side of the road.
Actually, it's funny because Goran, I think, of as Ivanisevic, which is a Baltic name, I guess.
Goran, yeah. What's the name of that singer? Bregovic, that's the one. Goran Bregovic. He makes brilliant songs. I like him. I haven't heard anything new from him for a while, to be honest. But then I have a Polish wife, so there's that.
Yeah.
Ministry of Silly Talks.
It's a national hobby. I don't think we have a mere ministry. I think it's part of the curriculum in school.
So, well, I'm really not sure what we should talk about.
Well, how about roving Serbians?
Roving Serbians? Why?
Yeah. Well, Goran's rootless. He's born in Serbia and raised in Germany. Are you still in the Fourth Reich?
The thing is, and I talked to someone not too long ago about their roots, and this is the one thing I never understood. People are people, we're not trees. If you now live in a country that isn't the country your family comes from, yeah, so fucking
only
what? Your
women,
roots.
Michael Keller. Sorry, only women, not men. Only women.
So you need one. You get a ministry for women, don't you? All right. No, but when people are talking about their roots, I'm like, you know what? You are more than your family's background. It's silly to say, well, but my roots are from this or that country. No, they're not. They're from the country you're born in. Because trust you me, if you go back to the country where your family came from, people will not openly welcome you back either, because you're not part of their way of life. You're part of the way of life of the country that you lived in, because you adapt.
Yeah, but no, what it is there's a discussion that goes on. So, for instance, I think it's one of the things Sargon talks about. It's you've got people who are generally rooted in a place, have their identity in a place, and then you have the globalists who are rooted in their culture, but not in a place, because like the global cities are all identikit.
Yeah, but
so you know, it's like nationalism and, you know, national pride or regional pride or city pride or whatever. all that is related to the kinds of people, the working people and the ordinary people generally, who identify themselves in part, not in complete, but in part through where they're from and the other people from that place. Okay, feel kinship. And then you've got the globalists who feel no loyalty to a place. They'll just up sticks and go somewhere else without a second thought.
Yeah. But
Right.
that's the thing. I mean, I had this conversation. Funny enough, I had this conversation 3 times in the last week. One with a woman who came. She lives in the Netherlands now, and she came from Sierra Leone, I think, as a kid. So she can't live there, or Cape Verde, or something like that. And she's a black girl, but she lived most of her life in the Netherlands. She speaks fluently Dutch. She's educated here. She has a job here. So where do you live? I live here. Do you want to live somewhere else? Well, I would be nice to go back there and there and there. Okay, so today I'm going to give you everything you need. You'll have a house. You'll have money. You can live in that country. Do you really want to live there? Yeah, no, not really, because I would miss here. So, okay, that means you're Dutch. Yeah, but I'm not born Dutch or blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter what you're born. It's what you are.
Yeah.
But then you also have to recognize, if I am Dutch, then I have to stand for Dutch values. So as soon as someone starts playing the ethnicity card or entitlement cards, you have to stand up and say no.
Yeah, but we should take away all cards, period.
Yeah.
If someone says, oh, the Sutter card, it's like dismissed out of hand as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. But if you, I mean, for example, in these cases, they want to work here, they want to succeed here, they want their children to succeed here, then you have to work here, then you have to, you have to stand up. When someone says you're not Dutch, you have to stand up. Yeah, well, I might not be white, but I am Dutch. At the same time, when someone talks about how black people have it bad, you have to stand up and say, well, this might be true for you, but then you have to look at why you have it bad. Because I don't have it bad, but I'm Dutch, I work here, I'm part of society. So if you're one of the people that gets filtered out as being part of the problem, then you have to figure out what you're doing that got you filtered out as part of the problem. Even if you're not a native person in skin color or what, you can still be completely part of a society. And one of the biggest problem I see when people talk about their roots is that they are basically creating their own downfall. They're basically saying, well, yeah, but my roots are somewhere else. Okay, so what about those roots? They're not your roots, they're your family's roots, but you've never been there. You've never grown there.
It does kind of depend. You're generalising again, because sometimes people are referring to where they have lived.
Yeah, sometimes, but very often they don't. And even
Okay, very often they don't, but not
and
always.
even if they sometimes are referring to somewhere where they have lived, you shouldn't be looking at where you have lived. You should be looking at where you want to be, who you want to be, what you
Depends
want to
how
be.
they're using the word.
Well, still.
Can I, as an immigrant, use your mic?
Yeah, sure.
I agree with that on mods. You have to stand up for the society you chose to live in. I remember still being kind of attacked that I'm Polish, and if I would stay in my own country, a Dutch person could live in the house I'm living now, because I'm taking the house away from some Dutch person, Dutch woman. And I said, yeah, fair enough, but I'm paying taxes here, I'm working here. If there will be military conflict and there will be something I will have to or can do, I will stand up on the side of this country, even feeling partly betraying my country would our countries stand in conflict. But I think it's also part of that people don't wanna let go of that part of themselves. Like, it was hard at the beginning for me because I didn't have a memories here and everything was new and there was nothing I could relate from my past, and it got easier over time. I'm here more than 15 years. But a lot of Polish people I also know, they indeed thinking that being assimilated in that culture and really love this country means they have to betray their own country. I do see that with people.
And that's the problem that people make. People have the feeling they can't choose for their new country because they can't give up on their old country. And as soon as you are still living in your old country, even though you're not committing to your new country. And this is what the problem is with multiculturalism. It's not about ethnicity, it's about multicultural. No, I'm still part of that culture. No, you're not. Yeah, but I want to be. Then go back.
Then why did you leave?
Yeah.
Because in a way, people who will come here, they already have chosen this country. So why they staying so hung up in the...
One second. Goran, I understand what you're saying, but you shouldn't let white nationalists or ethno-nationalists drive the narrative any more than you should let any other identitarian based on minorities drive the identitarian discussion. Either you're German or you're not. And this is about your own mindset. This is not about what other people think of you. I mean, you can always find people who will hate you. That's okay. Hell, I'll tell you this much. There are plenty of white nationalists that hate white people as well. Because it's just... how do you call it? It's a line, but it's not an important line. How do you call those things? Arbitrary. It's just an arbitrary line. And don't fall for that line of thinking. I mean, either you are German or you're not. Well, I'm Dutch. Well, I have an Italian background, but I'm Dutch. I hope my son will be Dutch. He has a Polish background, but I hope he will recognize himself to be Dutch. And if indeed at one point or other he feels like I can't stay here, I need to go somewhere else, and he goes to, let's say, the UK, and he wants to live there for the rest of his life, then okay, then he'll become British. And you can't be British by birth in that way, but you can still become British. You can still become German, you can still become Dutch. It's the attitude. What culture do you want to be part of? Do you want to be part of the culture you are in, or the culture you prefer? Well, if you want to be in the culture you prefer, then go to the country of the culture you prefer. Yeah, indeed, Richard. People go to different countries where they want that country to change to meet their expectation. And that's the biggest issue. That should never happen. If you come to another country, you should adapt to that country. And of course, you're going to hold to a few things that are your own. Obviously, that's a non sequitur. But you should be part of your new country. You should be someone to be proud of your new country, but someone your country can be proud of too. And there will be always people that like, oh, but you're this or that. No, you should be someone the neighbors can say, oh yeah, no, I know him, he's a good guy. Well, melanin is overrated. Sunblock works too. But that's the point, Goran. You came to Germany as a kid. So, what are you? You're German. Oh, you might be Serbian in your background, but you are German. So live up to that expectation. And don't ask what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. I know this is an old JFK one thing, isn't it? Don't ask what don't ask what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country, and make it happen. And trust me, the more you become one of many, this is funny, but this is true. The more you become one of a society where you're actually part of that society, people will stop caring about your looks. One of the better examples I've seen in the last few years was a black boxer in Poland. Whilst there were protests going on in Poland to keep the borders closed, this black guy was at a television show and they were interviewing him. And the interviewer was like, well, do you see that? Those Polish people out there protesting to keep black people out and blah, blah, blah. What do you feel about that? And basically the guy said, well, you know, if I weren't to be here now, I would have been there with them because I agree. Poland should be for the Polish, and I consider myself Polish because I lived here. When I go out to box, I box in the name of Poland. I'm part of Poland. And yes, there will be people who won't accept me, but most people will accept me, just like I will accept most people. But Poland shouldn't open its borders just to let people with a skin color in. And are you asking me this because I have a skin color? Indeed, Goran. Because that's where you lived. Hell, if I would give you a house in Serbia tomorrow, you probably wouldn't enjoy yourself there anyway. It's okay to go on a holiday, but to live? It's the same for me. I mean, my family comes from Italy. A great country. I can really go to a holiday there. Living in Italy? Me? I doubt that. I'm more likely to go live in Norway than I am to live in Italy, to be honest. But anyway, now I'm ranting. After I said it's time to maybe call it quits.
Something I tried to type, but something got wrong. Goran, I came here when I was about 21, and when I have learned the Dutch language and the culture, so I became I started to understand the culture more. I realized that I fit with my mentality really more in the Netherlands than in Poland. Even though I'm Polish, I always had a bit different approach and point of view than Polish people. I never quite fitted well, and in my workplace it showed really a lot in Poland when certain things were so weird to me with my colleagues, for example. So even when Polish, I didn't quite fit in my country. I came here and I'm like, okay, it's this one.
So, but yeah, the main thing is, don't ask what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Anyway, John, anything to add to that, or did I completely silence you?
Yeah.
Well, that's a long story. Well, I think that's it then. I think we're going to call it quits for tonight. Any last words for you, John?
No.
I think I broke John. Sorry, guys. Anyway, thank you very much all for coming. Thank you very much all for joining us. And I hope to see you all next time. And now I have to end the stream. And that should happen now.